And I saw that talk by Eric Schmidt a year or two ago, and I think he got in trouble for it because he said things like, I don't think y'all are realizing how powerful this AI is. Like, you can say, make me a copy of TikTok and emphasize it this way and then publish it. And if that doesn't go viral in 30 minutes, do it again. Hello, and welcome to Legends of Longevity with me, Joseph Ence. I'm your host, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey towards living a longer, stronger, and more vibrant life. The podcast is about uncovering the secrets to longevity, things your doctor does not tell you, whether it's groundbreaking advancements in heart health, lifestyle tips to keep you thriving, or inspired stories of people who've defied the odds. Together, we'll explore the tools, techniques, and mindset shifts that can help you unlock your fullest potential. Whether you're here to learn how to enhance your well-being, support your loved ones, or just stay ahead of the curve in health and wellness, you're in the right place. Let's empower each other to not only live longer, but live stronger. Welcome back to Legends of Longevity. I'm here with the guy who's been in the industry for a long time, as long as I've been. And he's had a pretty meteoric and interesting rise. He started out getting concierge doctors into business, helping them to find lawyers, how to navigate. And being in the business, he's been in a few really cool ventures. The vitamins that are little pills, so you can get exactly the dose for you, that's him. And he's written some pretty important papers about the third era of medicine, direct primary care versus concierge, just so you know the difference, and awakening the healthcare consumer. And some of the most interesting things we've done is in our careers together, we've met a lot of doctors, we've been around a lot of companies, so we got a good intuition for how this industry works. And we're going to talk about it, some things that are interesting to us, and we'll get on with it. So welcome, Tom. Welcome to Legends of Longevity.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to see you as always.
Yeah, man. Yeah, loving it. So last time we were talking, I think we were at a conference, and you, me, and Helen Messier were sitting around the table, and it came up that direct primary care is a thing, and that's kind of hot, and then concierge, and eventually that turned into functional medicine, and that's pretty hot. Everybody wants to live longer and stronger, but we decided the future was going to be results-based medicine because there's so much missed opportunity, and it's just problematic, the system we have now. But people want to buy results. They want to know that their diabetes is not stellar, and if they talk to this doctor, they should have it within a certain range if they follow the protocol. That's just a simple example, but you can do that for heart disease and limbs and orthopedic, everything in healthcare. Cash pay for the service exactly that you want. What made you decide, Tom, that's the way it's going?
Well, I guess I had an epiphany along the way. With, I can remember having launched a great practice with a custom made building, and it was a male and female doctor that were both super credentialed, and they I want to say they had like a $2,500 a year membership in this practice, and they had grown and done well. One day, the female physician in the group identified a reverse your diabetes protocol, almost like a little mini franchise, and in the bundle was everything you needed to accomplish this particular outcome: all your supplements, your food recipes, your coaching visits, your lab testing. It was all bundled together in a what some people might call a bundled episode of care that lasted 6 months, including the lab tests and everything. And to my amazement, she was able to sell this 6 month reverse your diabetes program, which incidentally was far more confined and finite than the concierge membership. So she was able to sell this 6 month program for $3,500, whereas way easier than you could sell the 12 month $2,500 program. And what it occurred to me is that people want to buy the solution to the problem that they think they have right now. And then the key, I think, to building long-term, a long-term practice out of that, unless you want to constantly be on the treadmill of patient acquisition, is to convert people out, from that onboarding patient journey into a subscription member, to maintain your results and pursue other health objectives. But as a way of initiating the growth of a practice, selling these programs or bundles is just a terrific strategy.
Right? Selling the patient what they want. And the patients who seem to know what they want are sophisticated enough to get a realistic program, and they'll follow it.
Well, it depends. In that case, you've got people. The patient avatar for that was somebody that was fairly newly diagnosed with diabetes, and so they were, the diagnosis was new enough that they hadn't adjusted their sense of what is normal to now being on diabetic medication or what have you. It's amazing how quickly we recalibrate what's normal, especially with diabetes, where such a high percentage of the population has the condition, that you can easily allow yourself to be convinced that this is just a natural part of the aging process, and you should just carry on life on metformin and then life on insulin and what have you. For longevity, it's a different story. For more ambitious health promotional goals rather than health restorative goals, you've got a much more sophisticated consumer that's done a lot more research and has decided that they want to invest money in kind of going well beyond what healthcare is traditionally thought of to accomplish.
Yeah, it's amazing how people don't know that there's solutions out there to super common problems. And finding the doctors to do it is somehow really tough.
Yeah, it is difficult. Well, part of the problem is that it's nearly impossible, if not literally impossible, for practices to deliver these solutions, the sort of disease reversal, root cause oriented solutions, unless they have modified their economic model to get off of the treadmill of insurance reimbursed fee for service medicine. They just don't have the time to do it, and so much of what that work involves is just not well valued by the payer system. And so, yeah, you're looking for doctors with the education and capability to do it, but you also need that capability to overlap with a business model that permits them to do it.
Yeah, can I just talk about the CPT code system for a minute, just so that everybody understands? Everything in medicine has a code associated with it. A doctor's visit, a blood test, any diagnostics you get, every radiology code. And that's cool because it makes it easy for billing. And this is worldwide. My clients in Saudi Arabia also use the CPT ICD-10 system. And they got diagnoses and codes, and it's just a bunch of codes. And out of that, we should get some type of transparency in the system. However, if you've got a new product, a new service that doesn't neatly fit in an already existing CPT code, you're going to have a really, really tough time bringing this to market. There's the lawyers at the insurance companies don't want new things out there. The insurance companies don't want their doctors doing things outside of their scope, even if it's new and got therapy. So new things in medicine don't easily show up to your doctor. It's got to be a big production. You need a sales team to tell the doctors about it. You need to get the factory or whatever your service is, and you got to dial that in to medical grade. It's got to be good. And it just washes out so many people. So industries are popping up of these non-standard techniques that are very, very effective. And they're hard to find because your insurance company won't tell them about them. The searches, you got to know what you're looking for to find it. And most people seem to find it through chat groups or whatever of people with similar maladies, like, hey, this doctor saved me. But suffice it to say, the CPT code system locks people out of the system. New ideas and therapies. So, yeah, you just mentioned that the CPT code system, these new therapies like a Prolon diet, I don't think that's paid for by insurance. That's cash. But a new heart valve, yeah, insurance will pay for that because those guys know how to navigate the system.
Yep. What you're talking about, is one component of the larger problem / tragedy in medicine, which some people refer to as the translational gap, where the time that it takes for a new and proven innovation, best practice in medicine, to find its way into the day-to-day practice of medicine on average, people say that, that have studied it, it's 17 years. In real life, I have yet to find, there are so many examples where it's longer than 17 years. It's almost as though best practices in medicine advance more at a generational pace. I mean, if you look at something like leaky gut that has been taught in functional medicine circles for probably 30 years. I can remember, I want to say it was during COVID that the British Medical Journal came out with this sort of seminal article kind of declaring leaky gut to be a thing. And it was like close to 30 years since it had been taught through the Institute for Functional Medicine. And so, yeah, they're the way medicine's practice is filled with these examples. And so part of it is there's waiting on the insurance system to decide to value a thing. And then the other side is when doctors are on the treadmill that they're on, you've got to find doctors that have the time to learn the thing. And so and then you have to remember that there's some times where a best practice in medicine, take placing stents as an example, where a best practice needs to get revisited, and revisiting that best practice, i.e. stenting, flies in the face of the economic model of the practice. And so in the field of cardiology, that's an engine of commerce, is placing stents. So it's you've got all sorts of strange incentives that are at play as well. So it's getting something, getting medicine that is reflective of truly the state of the art is a legitimate challenge.
And just one story that you and I both saw. There was a company called Coast Pharmaceuticals that sold niacin in a special pill. They had a patent that it was an extended release pill. They had an awesome sales force. They got rocking. They made a lot of money. Somewhere around 2010, 2015, their patent ran out. And Tom and I would go to medical conferences, and they would say things like, taking this nicotinic acid, this niacin, increases your good cholesterol 6 points a year, no upper limit, every year. It makes your good cholesterol more productive. And when cardiologists have a heart attack, they take 3 to 6 grams of that a day. Like, they go hard with it. It's a tough drug to take. But anyways, it was a bedrock of a lot of heart attack and stroke prevention programs. The patent went away, and then the whole market got cannibalized. There's no more pharma reps talking about how good this stuff is. There's nobody pushing it. And because they're not there, the other pharma reps pounced and said, oh, this is not good for your diabetics, and totally undermined all the science. And within 5-10 years, hardly anybody uses niacin anymore because it's not on patent, it's not reimbursed, not paid for, and there's nobody pushing the science, and everybody's got a goldfish memory. So seeing that disappear in our lifetime was kind of disappointing.
Well, I have to say, I think that the ability to interact with the totality of medical knowledge about you as an individual is going to be a game changer, not just for consumers, but for practitioners as well. So there's a I've been doing a lot of speaking lately with a founder of a company called Vibrant Practice, which is the first AI native electronic health record. And they've built, this is a brilliant woman who came out of Meta, where she had been leading the Oculus project, and developing the Oculus, and then later those Orion glasses, and she had a health issue, resolved it through functional medicine, and became passionate about this, and decided to set out to create this electronic health record, really geared for functional integrative longevity medicine doctors. And the kind of the hero function of this technology, they call it chat with chart. And so, like right now, if you or I go to ChatGPT and we want to get health advice, we have to create the context of who the heck we are. Oh, I'm Tom Blue. I'm a 53-year-old male, and here's health background and whatever. And I write a paragraph or two, and then I ask it my question. And so I have a sandbox account with Vibrant where I just loaded all of my past labs and all the genetic tests that I've taken over the years, and as much of I filled in the sort of the functional medicine intake. I loaded all my supplements in, and started asking questions, and to see that thing fetch information from a 80-page report I got from the DNA company all those years ago. Of course, the genetic information has a nice long shelf life, and begin to say, in light of this, you might revisit this particular supplement, or anticipate that as an explanation of a health phenomenon you're seeing, was unbelievable. And so what it made me think was, immediately I started thinking about my health information, the totality of my health record, as an asset. And so it's, I start, for the first time, I thought to myself, I really would love to load in here a pharmacogenomic report. I've never bothered to go, to pay for that, because the way that type of test result has always lived in the past, it's just a PDF in a document folder in an electronic health record. And I know, as does everybody else, that if I get on a medication, the odds that I'm even going to remember that report exists, much less the pharmacist, the doctor, whoever's prescribed, is going to know that report exists, is about zero, because it's lost in there as a lab report. Well, now, as you start loading this in, it goes into the collective knowledge about you. So I think there's going to be big consumer ramifications. I have since gone out and had for the third time my entire genome sequence. The first two times, I couldn't begin to tell you. I've never attempted to access my fully sequenced genome, and so one is locked somewhere at Illumina, the other's locked somewhere at Human Longevity. And so I went to sequencing.com for $399, by the way, and have my genome sequence. They have a subscription. I haven't, it hasn't come back yet, but the subscription, I want to say it's like $39 a month, and you can chat with your entire genome inside this, and you can generate the different reports. I can generate the pharmacogenomic report, or I can generate they have a whole menu of reports you can generate. I've always thought genetics should be a subscription product anyway, but now in the age of AI, I think that is completely gonna come to life, where you're not only gonna just get updates on health relevant things to your genome, but you're gonna be able to interact with it in an unprecedented way. It turns out, just downloading that file, if I wanted to download it, and I thought to myself, I'll load my genome into Vibrant, but like the compressed version of it is 2 gigabytes. So I don't know that the whole genome is going to be as movable as my 3x4 genetics report. But in any case, so that's the patient perspective. Health information as an asset, I think, is maybe the way I would distill. The way I think it'll quickly reshape people's minds. The other thing I think is, as doctors, as electronic health records similar to Vibrant become more widely adopted, which is inevitable, I think we're going to start seeing consumers really, that are shopping for health services, really favor practices that are utilizing an AI native electronic health record. I mean, the moment you see this thing, think about every piece of information about you that's ever been loaded into it to come up with answers, you realize that the advantage that gives to the doctor that's using that technology is just off the charts big. And so I think it's going to become a deciding factor in which doctors get at least private pay business from astute consumer shoppers. On the provider side, it's a really interesting thing. The world of AI in medicine, there are a lot of course there's a lot of rhetoric around, oh gosh, this is going to replace doctors, and it's going to trivialize the doctor in the medical equation, and I don't think that is going to be an evenly distributed problem. Certainly, if you're in the business of interpreting images, that's going to be an area of medicine that's heavily disrupted by AI, of course. On the other hand, when I zoom out a little bit further, I think to myself about kind of two domains of medicine. One domain being the traditional one that we've always thought of, that orbits really around diagnosing things. And so I think to myself about, you remember that old television show House? Yeah, where the grumpy doctor, but he was a genius. He could recognize patterns and diagnose things from the most subtle signs. And all of his personality flaws were forgiven as a result of that brilliance. When I think about him as kind of the face of diagnosis-oriented medicine, I think that's going to prove to be a disappointing. I think AI is going to be very threatening there, because let's face it, recognizing patterns, attaching those patterns to the most likely intervention to impact that pattern, that's a function that is right in the sweet spot of AI. And so if you're in the world of diagnosis-focused medicine, then it's likely going to be very unsettling. And the truth of the matter is, there's a little bit of house in all of us. It's like, who doesn't want to be the one to solve the puzzle, crack the code, and come up with the answer? I personally have found, my relationship with cognition and knowledge and AI to be, sort of it's an uncomfortable adjustment to a world where cognition is commoditized and knowledge is infinitely abundant. And so that then brings us, though, to the other side of medicine, which I think is going to be the side that really we live in, which is much more concerned and orbits around the prognosis and the future trajectory of a person's health. And if you think about that side of medicine, the business of changing health trajectory is entirely oriented to leading the patient to take action on a sustained basis with extreme conviction. And so there's a process of discovery, there's a process of I now understand, of education and learning, and then recalibrating and optimizing that smooths the path and lowers the steepness of the learning curve, so that patients can alter the future of their health. And in that world of medicine, I think AI is going to make both the patients and the providers feel very rewarded and have a great deal of fun along the way. And I think that they should be, I don't think AI is a threat in any way, but rather I think it's a massive kind of accelerant of that type of medicine.
Boom. All right. So you and I were at another conference, and they were showing off. They pulled out the phone and said, "Hey, your medical records are in this phone, all of them, blood labs, genetics, everything." And we're like, "All right, that's cool. That's not crazy anymore. That seems like that's still new to me. That's okay." And then they go, "We put a little AI button in there, and you can say, 'Hey, Mr. AI, please look at my genetics and my cholesterol and come up with a food exercise program for the next 3 weeks.'" Boom, done. Not a problem. Better than a doctor could do. How's that going to change medicine, Tom?
Yeah, it's interesting. We may discover, particularly in healthcare, that the AI augmented human physician is even more of a luxury good than of course it is today, where the combination, because if you think about this, in the world of treadmill medicine, AI is only going to just heighten the expectations of throughput. Doctors will see people faster and faster. Things will be delegated down to physician extenders more, and it's just going to be a throughput accelerator. In the world of private pay medicine, where we've been living, the ability to have the time and attention, not of a doctor that is sort of refusing to adopt new technology, but a doctor that does and overlays their human time and attention, I think is going to become a really interesting new luxury in a way that even it's not today. If you think about it, in the knowledge economy, you've got sort of facets of value in knowledge work. There's the intrigue and curiosity function. There's the knowledge, I know stuff function. There's the curation and narrowing of choices function, and then there's the ultimate judgment of what to do. Well, of those four things, one just became infinitely abundant, and so the value of knowledge, just knowing stuff, just dropped to zero. Everyone has basically the equivalent of a PhD in everything. Once you learn how to use these tools, and to the extent that that's an exaggeration today, by another year from now, it won't be an exaggeration anymore. So what this is, I think, going to do is heighten the value of really smart curiosity and asking very good questions on the front end. You know what I mean? It's like in a world where knowledge is cheap, the value of the questions becomes really, really high. And so I think that we're going to see the smartest doctors really get good at thinking about where they want to channel their inquiry, and then how they curate the available choices to that patient and narrow it down into final judgment calls is going to be even more valuable because of the abundance of output of knowledge.
The quality of my doctor will depend on his prompt engineering.
Well, I mean, today that's the thing. I'm sure that will only get more and more simple to do as time goes by. The systems will be more and more receptive to to more casually designed engineered prompts. But just knowing what to ask, where to look. We've been doing so, and I'll tell you, on the other end of it, the curating and refinement of the knowledge output. The simplest illustration of this is probably just looking at food plans. So today, one of the home run applications of AI in medicine, holding aside the obvious one, which is the AI scribe, taking note taking out of the way, which is fantastic. But in terms of decision making, when you look at AI for food planning, it is fantastic. You can throw all varieties of challenges. This person's allergic to this and that. They can't stand cucumbers. They shop at Food Lion. They don't know how to cook. Make me recipes and a food plan for this person. And so the ability, like when you think about historically, in the functional medicine world, it's like, okay, you're going to be on the keto food plan, or you're going to be on the Mito food plan, or the Mediterranean food plan, and your practitioner might print out this really beautifully laid out PDF that lays out, here are the foods of the keto food plan, and here's some recipes and meals. The odds that that thing that's printed in the beautifully formatted PDF is going to be applied by you in that form is just about zero. The chances that it is the foods that you would like, ingredients you have access to, recipes you know how to prepare and have time to prepare, all of that is just the odds of it is infinitesimally low. On the other hand, we just presented some really fun cases where one of our brilliant AI practitioners, a woman named Lexi Gonzalez, talked about taking the Mediterranean food plan. Her patient was a truck driver, a long haul truck driver. And so she said, okay, here's your Mediterranean food plan. And he politely says, this is great. I'm in a truck all day. I can't cook all this stuff. So now she goes back in real time, mind you, in the visit and says, okay, rework this for someone who has no ability to cook. And it comes up with simpler recipes and grab and go things. And he's like, but I'm like driving from here to there, all day, every day. I don't have access to Whole Foods at every stop. So by the end of this thing, the food plan was essentially meal selections from the convenience stores and fast food restaurants on his trucking route from here to there. So order this at Subway and that at Wendy's or whatever. I mean, it was that personalized during the course of a visit that she was able to make that hyper-personalized plan. And so I think,
And if the doctor had his pharmacogenetics, you could have refined the diet even better.
totally, you could. I mean, yeah, you throw in some genetics, do even more. So it's like you could say, okay, now based on what's available on that route, what are the supplements that this guy's going to need to take to augment nutrients he's not likely to find at any of these stops? I mean, you couldn't hire a dietitian to do that type of work prior to AI, and now in the course of one visit. So if you think about what a medical visit starts to look like, it's actually a three-party conversation where you've got the practitioner, you have the patient, and then you have this collaborating cognitive sort of power that participates and helps you refine things and create optimize the behavior design characteristics of the plan to drive adoption through the roof, which of course will drive outcomes through the roof.
Wow. Like I'm still overlaying the pharmacogenetics on it. Like it would take 30 people 30 years ago to like go through all that and present a plan, a whole research team, and now it's instant.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing what it what it can do. And again, in the business, when you're in the business of altering health trajectory, rather than simply identifying and naming a condition and attaching the intervention with the greatest odds of suppressing that condition or those symptoms, the health trajectory oriented practices are gonna find this to be wildly expansive and valuable, as will those patients.
And this may help skip the whole CPT code system. I was in Key West, Key Largo, clinic there, and the doctor said I automated with AI all my prescription redoing things. If it's a controlled substance, of course it's going to come to me. But everything else, as long as they've seen me in the last 6 months or whatever his rubric was, and it would just automatically. I said, "Well, why'd you do that?" He goes, "Well, there's no CPT codes paying me. It's just expected you do that." And most dirty docs will have you come in every time. But I got a level of trust with my patients, and this is a huge upgrade to medicine. Less staff members, and that's just going to happen to every component of the whole industry.
Well, it's interesting. Health and medicine is sort of one, the one kind of island of AI where the outlook is just so favorable. I mean, the odds that that we're going to discover genuine life extending breakthroughs over the next 3 to 5 years seem to be extremely high. Um, Probably the obverse of that coin would be the likelihood that people, bad guys, discover bioweapons, and invent them. Is probably the flip side of that coin. And so that's, I think, something to be legitimately frightened by. Is as powerful as it is for doing good, it's probably equally or even more powerful for doing harm when in the wrong hands. And the arms race that we're in around AI is everyone has infinite incentive to just smash the gas to the floor and go as fast as they can, and it seems really hard to imagine that we're not gonna have instances where it just falls into the hands of bad actors.
Well, what are you scared of with AI then?
Stem cells, peptides. Um, yeah, I think stem cells are going to be really, really exciting over the next 3 to 5 years, um, for sure. I think that it's very exciting to see the plummeting costs of whole body MRI and the analysis of imaging. To see that democratized. I don't know if you saw when Function Health acquired Ezra, the whole body MRI network, similar to Pronuvo. Um, the I think they were promoting whole body MRI at like $500, and so yeah, which kind of, you think of, and only 30 minutes in the MRI machine. So I think what we're going to keep seeing, that's an exponential technology where it's every few years the amount of time you spend in the MRI tube and the cost of that analysis is going to probably drop by a very significant percentage to where it starts to become much more commonplace. I think we're going to have to start seeing changes in the laws of states like Virginia, where I am, that require a certificate of need to acquire an MRI machine, because it's going to. I think we're going to start seeing that as a much more democratized screening technology.
You need a certificate of need, like to buy one. You got to get government permission.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you do. In Virginia, you do. It's in a number of states you do, but in others you don't. But it's I think that the that's going to have to be revisited everywhere.
Yeah, these technologies, the ultrasound that I play with is getting smaller and faster. The MRI, CT are getting clearer and clearer. Like, yeah, that will be used. Yeah, definitely. Find out your muscle mass is too small or, anything. So, what do you see happening on the high end of healthcare besides AI? You're seeing a lot of stem cells. You're seeing a lot of what?
It's a really great question. I had a lengthy series of conversations about this very topic with a Wall Street Journal journalist a couple months ago, and if you think about it, for as long, one of the issues you and I have had conversations about since meeting one another is kind of the inevitable future of we run out of independent primary care practices to convert into concierge practices. And so, by far the most common origin of a concierge practice is a busy independent fee for insurance billing practice. And so today, very, very few primary care doctors leave school and just hang out a shingle and start their own practice. The world's not built to support that, and they have too much debt, and so we're not replenishing the supply of independently owned practices. And of course those kind of founding pioneer concierge doctors are getting older and older. And so, the question is, okay, what happens next? Well, what's happening right now that's fascinating is there is a remarkable market for these types of practices that are being, where they're being invested in by private equity and private equity like funds that are realizing that the lifetime value of these patients is through the roof. Once they're in that relationship, the likelihood that they're going to continue on is extraordinarily high. I mean, we know that in concierge medicine, the retention rates, can easily, reach 90+% annually. So there's a huge recurring revenue component. The worse that life gets in the system, the more valuable these sort of medical homes of refuge are for people that are willing to invest and able to invest in them. And so the practices for the first time are becoming extremely monetizable assets for the practice owner in a way that we used to only talk about back in the in our AAPP days of 2012 and 13, when we would talk about the practice as a retirement asset. That is very real today.
So how is this going to break out these big changes in medicine? Because right now the health insurance system, people are finding out they don't like 10-minute appointments. They want a doctor who has at least a couple hours a year to sort through some stuff with them. And that's the high end right now. How's that going to cascade down to everybody?
Yeah, I mean, usually they start with more like 2,000 patients, and it whittles down to 300 or so. But yeah, that's exactly right, and that's been the way the bulk of the concierge medical marketplace has been created, has been out of what people refer to as a practice conversion. And so now what's interesting is there's another, aside from the entrance of large investors in fueling growth of practices like these, not just acquiring them, but then recruiting doctors out of employed circumstances, providing the funding to bridge them into becoming concierge doctors. I think we're going to actually see investors as a critical component of the ongoing growth of concierge medicine, of the workforce in concierge medicine. Because clearly, pretend you're a small practice owner yourself. You've got your one doctor concierge practice. It's going great. You have a big waiting list, and you're wanting to hire a new doctor. Well, it's like that doctor is going to cost you money probably for a couple of years while that person becomes full, him or herself. And then, of course, there's the classic risk that once they are full, they'll decide, oh gosh, I could do this by myself, and they'll move across the street and bring their patients with them, and now it's all for naught. And I think investors are gonna insulate practices from that risk, and are going to drive the growth of the workforce, which is exciting to see. That's a big deal. Now, what's also interesting is the big beautiful bill that just got passed has done some things for direct primary care that we've all been waiting for forever, in terms of enabling the direct primary care fee to be not only paid for through your health savings account up to $150 for an individual or $300 for a family, but also the direct primary care relationship doesn't negate your ability to have a high deductible health plan. It doesn't amount to first dollar coverage. So it's kind of some subtle technical things, but the telehealth provisions in the bill allowing for first dollar coverage in a high deductible plan for telehealth visits is I think going to be a big, big, continued driver of telehealth. Um, so there's some interesting things in there that I think sort of support a future of kind of medical independence, in terms of how you as a consumer just sort of decide to handle your health, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, can I do a restate on that? Just use some terminology. So, if you wanted to take a doctor and make him a concierge doctor, that's a total business. You can do that. You got to find a doctor who has like 10, 15,000 patients in his practice, and you hit him up, you say, "I'm going to give you some sales training." And that 10,000, you're going to whittle it down to 300, 500 patients. And you're going to charge them a couple grand a year. And we'll show you the insurance, how to do it. And you're going to give them better care, and they're going to love it, and you're going to enjoy your patients again. Is that pretty much the promise?
Oh yeah, there's one guy who's been at it for as long as or longer than you or I have been doing this. His name is Jay Keys. So Jay, if you're listening, congratulations on a lifetime of hard work, driving legislation like that into existence. And so, oh gosh, yeah, yeah, he literally has been working on that for as long as I've been involved in that industry, as or very very close to it.
Yeah, that's going to help a lot of people. Good job, Jay. So we've got big databases. Every healthcare system that's statewide or regional, they got millions of patients in their roles. They've got all their data, all their blood tests, all their blood. Why is it that we're not getting great answers out of these huge data sets for diseases like autism or whatever else? It seems like we should have specific answers by now.
It is a good question. The one possible reason is that electronic health records are really designed for revenue optimization more than they are, pristinely characterizing a person's health. And so when you think about how much monkey business goes into the way things are documented and coded for the purpose simply of getting something reimbursed, it is it certainly corrupts the quality of the information in the electronic health record. So I think that's one thing. Now, of course, it doesn't corrupt lab values and things like that, but in terms of a lot of the documentation, it does. But I'll tell you, like on the flip side of that is if you look at the work, I've been following really closely what True Diagnostic is doing. Are you familiar with them? The biological aging.
I've heard the name. I haven't looked. I can't recall their test right now.
Yeah, they're an epigenetic, DNA methylation test that got its start doing biological age calculation, and they have become clearly the world champion of biological age calculation. And they've done all kinds of collaborations with a very interesting source of historical data, which are biobank data. And so which is how they've been able to validate their biological aging clocks. But there's I think we're going to see a lot of interesting stuff come out of the world of labs like True Diagnostic. I mean, they've discovered from from their ability to look back at people's biobank data, which of course also tracks what happened to that person. We have their sample from many years ago, and then what they died in 2007 of this condition or whatever. So it's kind of like how the future played out for that person, and so they are now discovering that and have discovered that from DNA methylation data they can actually infer and predict all kinds of different biomarkers, hemoglobin A1C and HSCRP, and I mean it's freaking fascinating. They call these epigenetic biomarker proxies, and in a couple months, in August, there will be, I think, several publications, that are going to make this into very, very big news. And to me, that's a really, really exciting use of large data sets to do some very creative things.
Um, all right, let me formulate this next question. Well, it's got to do. Okay, when I got my MBA back in '06, the professor said everything will go subscription in the future. And man, he nailed it. Netflix, YouTube, anything you regularly use, it's getting subscribed to, right? And I saw that talk by Eric Schmidt a year or two ago, and I think he got in trouble for it because he said things like, I don't think y'all are realizing how powerful this AI is. Like, you can say, make me a copy of TikTok and emphasize it this way, and then publish it. And if that doesn't go viral in 30 minutes, do it again. And I thought, oh my, that's a lot of power. Well, I could say, hey, my QuickBooks software, I want a corporate version modeled. It's not QuickBooks, but it's a private software now. Or all the music I've ever listened to, it's downloaded and sent to me through a private server. And it seems like it's going to be a subscription buster, but I'm not sure yet.
I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to is in a couple of years' time when I can just make my own movies to watch. I don't know why good movies don't come out anymore, but it's killing me. And if I could just say, make me a movie of that Vince Flynn novel, and it would just do it, I would be a happy camper. So it may very well be a subscription buster. It's a great question. Or maybe the new subscriptions are to the tools that enable that. It's a really good point. Or maybe, the content sources are just so hyper democratized that there are people that, it's hard for me to imagine if we can make a commercial that gets aired out of strictly with AI today. It's very hard for me to imagine that by the end of next year someone's not going to be able to make a full-length movie. And so,
So you're saying the source material is so fragmented and compromised within itself. If I wanted to watch a video or movie on Alexander the Great on his Ithaca campaign, not a problem.
I think it's very conceivable that we'll get to the point where you or I could conceive of a storyline and generate a movie to watch. It again, not tomorrow, but in the not too distant future. And some people will be better at that, I'm sure, than others. And we'll see. The cost of producing those types of creative output that historically have cost millions of dollars. Think about Titanic. However, it's like what, hundreds of millions of dollars to make that movie, and now, you can generate. I saw just, it was really funny. I saw a set of photos where the prompt had said, look, show people in color taking selfies in front of the Titanic. So it's like, it looks like the people boarding the Titanic, but taking a selfie in color. It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. As of the last, I don't know, month or two, the uncanny valley, as they call it. It seems like we've crossed it with video creation, where it's like, videos are going viral. I saw one today that had gone viral. It was of a woman trying to get on an airplane with an emotional support kangaroo, and she's arguing with the person at the gate, and the whole thing was just fake, but you couldn't not tell.
I believe that. I didn't know that was fake. That was so funny.
Oh yeah, the emotional support kangaroo, totally fake. And these things are going viral all the time. Now here's the thing. Another thing that concerns me is the fact that we are. It's like, on the one hand you could say, oh, nothing will ever replace the human. On the other hand, they're beginning to discover that our decision making is predictable and hackable. And as was discovered in the pickup artist community. You know what I mean? The human brain is a hackable thing, and yeah, it's a fascinating thing. And so what they've now done. I want to say it was like last week. Someone published, they had loaded all these psychological experiments with and millions of human decisions into a system. The system then began to predict what humans would do 31 out of 32 times. Yeah, even behaviors that weren't in the training data. And so the potential for AI to become irresistibly persuasive to us, I think, is very high. And so, which is another, it's another, I think there's real caution that has to be taken there, because heck, they had in China a couple weeks ago, they have infomercial pitch people like we do, George Foreman or whatever. And these two guys that are used to being seen on late night TV selling stuff cloned themselves, and their clone AI infomercial sold better than the two of them did in real life. And so, I mean, I just did a software demo of a product called Substrata that is an Israeli company. It rides along. You're on a Zoom call, and this thing will analyze the power dynamics in the call. This person came in, and their authority is here. You undermined yourself here, and here's what you should say in your follow-up email to reestablish your authority. And by start of next year, that's going to be a Zoom overlay where you can actually watch this in real time and say, "Oh, you just stepped on your tongue. You need to say this to get your power status back." It can run a disk profile on a person based on their online footprint before the meeting even begins. It's insane. And it's like you start thinking to yourself, well, sales seems to be the ultimate kind of human thing, but really, if you can clone up a human that looks exactly like the kind of person you want to buy from, and they say exactly the stuff that you need to hear, as monitored by your reactions in real time, it's an interesting future.
It knows your search history, or it will, and it knows your weak spots. And I like Helen told me, she said, "Did you know that when we put a personality on a program, people feel bad, like an alarm clock? Alarm clock says wake up at 6. It's your AI alarm. If you've personified it a bit, you feel bad not answering it. Or if it's and these I swear you're gonna see this. These AIs are gonna take on human personas, avatars, methods of talking to you in a way, and we're gonna be so easily manipulated because it all it needs to do is send you a text. Hey, this is your mom, and you need to go do this.
Yeah, we need like I read somewhere the amount of power consumption and token consumption used to process words like please and thank you in prompts is off the chart. I use please make me a report. It's like you can't help but to treat the thing in a personified way.
Yeah, we're so past the Turing test. We treat it with please and thank you now. Uh, in our lifetime, our parents were like, "You're watching too much TV. You're rotting your brain." And now, as this technology gets better, our attention span is definitely getting shorter. Our time with others is less. And I'm afraid for old guys like you and me, we don't want to change much. We enjoy selling to people, educating them, changing their life in compelling ways. And having an AI that can do that better is, oh my.
It's disturbing. There are things about it, like, I mean, frankly, I think that the one of the I'm sure there are other areas like this, but as I look around, kind of the least disturbing place for AI to arrive is in the world of trajectory focused medicine. When you think about the sorts of things that someone like I like to do, whether it's you know doing a talk or persuading someone to do something or to write something, it's like there are an awful lot of skills that that are going to be done by AI better than I can in the not too distant future. So yeah, it's like thinking about what how kids should navigate. I mean, heck, I was watching it's an older guy from Google who recently left so he could sort of speak openly about AI. I forget his name now, but they call him the Godfather of AI or something like that, the father of AI. And he's the interviewer asked him, so what should young people plan to do career wise? And he's like, I would really advise people to be plumbers. He's like, it's going to be a long time before AI can just physically manipulate things in the way that plumbers can. It's just not something that's likely to be, disrupted in the near future. But yeah, it's really really hard to think.
Those robots used to stumble, now they dance.
Yeah,
Oh man. The drones in Ukraine are getting scary good. They got like launcher drones. Look down. Gorgon Eye, those balloons they have above cities that have like 10,000 cell phone cameras, and they can track you. They loiter up there, so they can track a car all day. And like, there's all these technologies that we're not quite aware of, but are very powerful, going to change our world. I love talking to you about ideas. It's my favorite. You're my favorite person to talk to about ideas because you got so many. You know where the possibilities of where the future is going to go. and it could go in any of all these directions. But for some reason, we still believe humans are going to need to help humans. But we just spent an hour talking about how it's obviously going to replace us. At the last conference, every doctor admitted to talking to a patient on one screen and typing on another.
No kidding.
That's in the last year. They all admit it now, not a problem. And they're volunteering your medical information up to the cloud. I doubt they're putting your name in, but these AIs are learning. They're getting smart. And
Yeah.
man, uh, that Schwarzenegger movie, Terminator, he nailed that. That was pretty good. Skynet. And then The Matrix. We're talking agents, cookies. We're using the same terminology as these movies. It's crazy.
I know it. It's true.
All right, Tom, thanks for the time. I'll be around. Talk to you later.
All right, brother. See ya. Bye.